I have in my home a cabined off space that is completely secure.
Yes, welcome back. Recently, I came across a bombshell of information I don't know if you have seen. According to a document unearthed by New York Post Miranda Divan on a document titled Background Screening Request, it appears Hunter paid $50,000 in monthly rent for 1 year while living at Biden's Delaware residence, where the president kept classified documents.
And Dana, some news this morning. We are learning there are no visitor logs chronicling who comes and goes from the president's house in Wilmington. An official at the White House counsel's office is telling me that, like every president in modern history, a personal residence is personal. They make the distinction that, unlike the previous administration, the Trump administration, they are committed at the White House to being transparent about White House visitor logs. But in terms of what Republicans on the Hill are asking for, a record of who may have been in the Wilmington residence and potentially had access to the areas where these documents were found, it does not appear that that exists.
Where the president kept classified documents alongside his cupboard in the garage. Hunter listed his rental tenancy from March 2017 to February 2018, the document shows. The document is signed July 2018. In 2017, Biden left the White House and stored a large number of classified documents inside his Delaware garage and at 2 other locations.
The White House knew about this on November 2nd, so that was almost a full week before the midterm elections. We didn't learn about it. The public wasn't informed until this week, and it was only after the story was out there, reporters were asking questions. Should they have been more forthcoming? Should this information have been revealed earlier?
I think the administration will need to answer that question. I'm going to reserve judgment until they do. But I think it's important to point out that the Biden approach was very different in the sense that it looks, as far as we can tell, that it was inadvertent that these documents were in these locations.
Some Democrats are still struggling to defend Joe, though a lot are speechless. Just imagine the bombshell information published by the New York Post. It should signal something into you. Hunter Joe was paying this amount of rent at this same residence, and these classified documents were packed in his garage. They are still struggling to compare the two situations. Totally insane. When I look at what is going on, I'm seeing clear the level of hypocrisy in this. The former president had this document in a safe location locked until the FBI had to break in, but Joe decided to allow this document in his garage, where Hunter was renting. This should signal something to you, but they are still struggling to defend this. Like you saw, Adam Sharif, he's actually speechless. He doesn't even know what to say, because at this level, if I'm him, I will stay quiet.
The first batch of documents was found on November 2nd, a week before the midterms, but the public didn't learn about it until it was reported in the press just this past week. And even then, the White House didn't acknowledge that a second batch of documents had been found in December until that, too, leaked. Chairman Comer has a point when he says we learned about this because CBS News reported on it, and then everybody else followed and got that information. Now we've learned they found more documents than previously disclosed in a third location. It's hard to argue that the administration's been transparent and told the American people about this as soon as they could have.
Well, of course, I mean, it was a very rapid clip at which we learned about it compared to the Trump case where he fought it for nearly a year or perhaps over a year. And the government investigators had to go to court in order to get a subpoena to go to Mar-a-Lago to get dozens of boxes of classified material and government documents that were being held down there. So, look, I don't know yet, and I'm hoping our investigations will reveal what you're supposed to do if one of these documents surfaces.
Yes, two different situations. The vice president and the president. That time, Joe was the vice president. He never had right to have this document. The former president had the right to declassify it, but Democrat came out restless, like some of the videos I've been watching on YouTube. They are bringing up the argument that he had no right to declassify this document. So I want to know if the vice president had the right to do this. Drop under the comment section if you are a Democrat.
As we come on the air this morning, there are new details emerging about those classified documents found at President Biden's private office and at his residence. For the fourth time, the White House is revealing new details. At first, it was documents found in a locked closet at an office Biden used after he was vice president. Then we learned of documents in the garage at his home in Wilmington. Then a document in another location near the garage. And now, just yesterday, the White House said 5 more documents had been found at President Biden's home. The White House says it is committed to transparency, but the first batch of documents was discovered on November 2nd, just days before the midterm elections, and the public didn't learn of it until this week, and only after reporters started asking questions. Do you think the White House knew about this back in November, even before the midterms? Do you think that they should have told us about this earlier?
I'm glad to see that the president and his administration are cooperating, and they should continue to cooperate. Nobody's above the law, and we need to get to the bottom of this so that we don't see this kind of thing happen again.
But should they have told us about it in November? I mean, there's some Republicans are alleging cover-up. Even some Democrats have expressed some concern.
Well, look, the Justice Department is engaged in the investigation, and that's one of the questions that I think they will explore. And I don't want to get in front of that investigation.
Perhaps over a year, and the government investigators had to go to court in order to get a subpoena to go to Mar-a-Lago to get dozens of boxes of classified material and government documents that were being held down there. So, look, I don't know yet, and I'm hoping our investigations will reveal what you're supposed to do if one of these documents surfaces.